So in this video, I am going to give you a little more detail about my deafness and tell you exactly what it is that I can and I cannot hear. Now in my old videos, especially my very first video about deafness, I said that deafness is not one size fits all, and that is still correct. But here's the thing that I don't think a lot of hearing people quite know, and somebody brought this up on Twitter. But hearing loss, deafness is not just about volume. It's not just about, oh, this needs to be at this certain volume in the car or on the television. It's also about frequencies, pitches, tones. So it's all just a mixture of volume and frequencies, pitches, you know, that kind of stuff. So let's just talk about volume first. So before I get into any real details, let me go over exactly how much loss I have in my ears. In my right ear, I'm pretty much severely deaf. I can barely hear anything. I always test this out occasionally, but when somebody's with me or when I'm listening to music, I cover my left ear and there's not a whole lot of sound that comes in on this side. This side, however, my left ear is better than my right ear, but I'm still deaf enough in this ear. It's about moderate to severe. As far as pitches and tones go, I hear deeper tones better than higher pitched tones. And I'll get into that a little bit more in detail in a second. So I have a little example that goes great with this whole figuring out, you know, what volume I'm good with. A couple of days ago on my Facebook page, I asked people, those that still have some residual hearing, I asked, hey, how high do you have to have the volume in your car to be able to barely hear it, be a little semi-comfortable hearing it, be at an okay volume, and what volume do you need to actually be okay with it and actually really be able to hear it and listen, you know? So, for example, in my car, the highest volume is 45. Just to be able to barely hear my music, it has to be at least 25. 25 to 30, depending on whether it's like a singer with a higher pitched voice or a deeper pitched voice. I have to be at least 25 for everything. And here's the thing, most of my hearing friends, they won't put their radios, their speakers, higher than 20, because anything over than 20 is too loud for them. So let's see, for example, I don't listen to music a whole lot anymore, but I do have a couple of main CDs in my car. One of them is Epic High. If you don't know who Epic High is, a Korean rap group. So that's pretty much my go-to music whenever I'm in the car. So I have to have the volume at just about 25 to be able to barely hear it. So if I have somebody in the car with me but I also want to hear it, it's at 25 and it stays there because that 25 might be too loud for them. To be able to hear it alright, if I'm in a mood that I don't want it to be like so loud it hurts my ears because the bass will like, you know, get into my ear and give me a headache, 35 is where it's okay. But if I really want to enjoy the music, it has to be 40 to 45. Most of the time, I crank it all the way up, and yes, that means my mirrors are shaking. It's a miracle that my speakers haven't blown out yet. I did do that in the other car though. So yeah, whenever I'm listening to music, I mostly prefer male singers because their voices are deeper. And that means I can hear it a little bit better. Now let me get into this. That doesn't mean I understand the song lyrics. Unless I know the song, I'm not gonna understand the song lyrics. Bits and pieces, yes, but other than that, no. The misheard lyrics video, I would be the poster child. So music aside, let's talk about some things that I can hear. Really, if you're loud enough, I can pretty much hear anything, but you're gonna have to be very, 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 very loud. Let's talk about people. There are lots of people that I can hear at regular volume. There are some people I can't hear at all. I've been in group hangouts in person, and I would have two friends over here that I could hear all right, and then there's one person, regardless of if he's like right here by me, I would not hear a peep coming out of his mouth, but everybody else would. I can somewhat hear church bells occasionally when I am outside in a parking lot. I've heard a church bell here and there. I live right off an interstate, so I'm hearing freight trucks all the time, but I will not be able to hear regular cars that pass by. At my old house, I was able to hear the doorbell, but in this apartment, I cannot hear the doorbell. I've gotten lucky a couple of times, but hearing fluctuates. Yesterday, I got lucky. Normally, I'm not so lucky. I use my cats as my personal doorbell. When their heads perk up or when they run away, there's somebody at the door. Here's an example of not being able to hear high-pitched tones. This is like the perfect example. The very first time that I was in Toronto, when I first met my boyfriend in person, I made coffee. We had the timer set up 4 minutes. And I lost track of time. I was watching TV or something. And Devin comes out and he's like, what in the hell? And I'm like, what? Halo, what? And he's like, can you turn the alarm off? And I go, what alarm? And he goes, you cannot hear this? This is so loud. And I go, no. So I went into the kitchen and he's like, oh my gosh, this timer is so loud. And I go, I can't hear a thing, like nothing, zilch. And so I take the shrieking timer and I put it in my better ear, nothing. Absolutely not a peep coming out of the shrieking alarm that is getting on my boyfriend's nerves. And I have it. Like, how you doing? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only person I'm comfortable talking on the phone with is my dad, and that's just crap now, but I don't mind screaming what into the phone every 2 minutes because that's my dad. But I'm not gonna like call AT&T or make an appointment on the phone because that's just not gonna work. If a crime happens and I gotta call 911, then I'm gonna take my chances, but for regular everyday things that aren't necessarily important, I'm not gonna go on the phone. Unfortunately, yes, I can still hear screaming babies and crying babies in public and on an airplane. I cannot hear alarms, like when I'm sleeping, I can't hear alarms. I have to use the sonic boom that vibrates under a mattress. I can hear the phone when I'm like in waiting rooms most of the time. Sometimes I can hear a conversation around me, sometimes I cannot. I think it would probably take forever to get into like everything that I can hear and not hear, but that's pretty much the gist of it. If it's a deeper tone, I'm gonna hear it better than a higher pitched tone. Do not trust me with kitchen timers at all. I use my iPhone or I stand up literally like every 2 minutes to check on my timer because I have to make sure. I am a very visual person. It's all visual. Yeah. So for those of you who follow deaf and hard of hearing people, those of you that have residual hearing left, tell me what you can hear and can't hear. Let's share. Do you hear deeper tones better or higher tones better? But yeah, I hope that this gives you a little bit of a better insight, because I know people always like, oh my gosh, you can hear something. And I'm like, well, yes, but there's a lot of things that I can't hear as well as this. Hearing loss is a very complicated thing. It's not just one easy thing. Unless the person is profoundly deaf, then it's like, done. If you want to follow me on my social media, all the links to that will be down below. If you want to support me monthly on Patreon and get presents and private vlogs and all of that, link to that will also be down below. I upload every Monday and Thursday unless otherwise stated, and I will see you later. Bye.